Time for the Extreme Demon ranking video. I know tons of people do these, but I got the idea of doing one once I realized I actually have a lot of Extreme Demons done now. 60 to be exact. I'll go from worst to best and I'll show my enjoyment for each level along the way. Note that some of my rankings aren't fully based on enjoyment, but they are definitely a big factor. I also consider decoration, gameplay, balancing, and theme. Almost all of these levels, except the top 10, I could swap around depending on how I feel about them that day, so keep that in mind. Although I went into this level knowing it would be bad, the flawless was still more flawed than I ever thought it could be. The deco is very overdone and generic, the hell theme, and the gameplay is even worse. My wave skill was not good enough for me to beat Forbidden Isle in 2 hours like other people, so I ended up dropping it several times before finally grinding it out and having a miserable experience overall. I really wanted to like the gameplay more, but almost every other solo level is more fun to me. The deco is the only thing that I really liked in it besides the theming, but that can only help it so much. Its back is supposed to be that one level that does the Carmel style right. How do you say that name? And maybe it does for most of the level, but the last 20% definitely makes this an extreme demon. I like the minimalist style, but if I didn't fluke the ending robot, I would have dropped this in a heartbeat. This level followed up I Wanna Be the Guy and made it look like a masterpiece. The Tower 22 is the only platformer extreme I have, but I plan to do others. Although I got surprisingly lucky with the ending, I can't ignore the lack of basically everything in this level. The atmosphere is kind of cool, but the song is literally just wind and chimes. I'm not kidding, I turned down the volume when I played it to listen to something else. It was so boring. The mini spike jumps, if you've seen the level, you know what I'm talking about, are just really annoying and probably my least favorite part of the level. I really wish it was better. This is the start of the Extreme Demons that I actually consider decent. Dance Till Dawn is the extreme that I enjoyed the least, but I can still see some effort put in it as well as some clever gameplay ideas. I just wish it was balanced a little more. The ship at 49% is much harder than anything else in the level, and I got demotivated every time I died past there. I hope to see more from the creator though, because I think Dance Till Dawn still shows they have some potential. Fishy is the most unbalanced beginner extreme probably ever, and I love it for that. This used to be the top one Insane Demon, which is why I did it for my 100th Insane Demon. I'm trying not to base this ranking off of any biases, so I'm putting the level here, but just know that I love this level for how goofy it is. You really have to play the level to understand why it is so unbalanced. There's a lot of things the level hides from you. My first and only unrecorded extreme, Tantrum, is quite the experience. I only beat it because it was a newer Insane Demon, but I had no idea it would be changed to be one of the easiest extreme demons in the game. Don't get me wrong, the level has its flaws, but if you want an easy extreme to do, you could try this one. The song is kinda goofy, but I actually like it. I gave Brimtanic Paradise a pretty high enjoyment, but that is solely because it's extremely easy. The level has really weird gaps in gameplay, and most of it plays like a low-end Insane Demon, but it randomly bumps up in difficulty at some parts. I've heard the sequel is better, so maybe I'll try that sometime. So, Proto Flicker, well, it is amazing, but it's all brought down by one part. The wave part right after the beginning ruined this level for me. Don't get me wrong, there are lots of hard waves in this, but that first wave is just so much harder than everything else. The level looks really, really good, but I regret ever picking up this extreme. At least I have it finished now. Troll level has some fun parts, and it's kind of cool to have a level like this in GD. I just wish I had more fun with it. I went into it thinking I would like it, but that never happened. I understand it's kind of a hit or miss level, so don't fully dismiss it just because I had a bad time with it. I also decided to beat it all in one day after being burnt out, so really bad idea. Also, I consider my 96% death to be one of my worst fails of all time. One to me is another unbalanced extreme that I just decided to beat out of the blue. Only blocks or no spikes extreme demons can be really fun, but I just wish this was more balanced. The first part is extremely easy, while the end of the flying section is stupidly hard. If this were a harder extreme, I could see this being closer to the bottom for me. At least this level looks nice, and the song is kind of cool. Wacky McWhackface V2, or otherwise known as the wackiest extreme demon ever made, is just Aku with harder clicks. I did enjoy it somewhat, and I feel like the idea worked without completely ripping off Aku. Some parts just felt a bit harder than the rest. I also wouldn't suggest going into this level thinking it's Aku difficulty, because it's a decent bit harder. I had a hard time with Wavebreaker when I thought it was the same tier as Aku, but after realizing it is as hard as Aftermath, I was able to enjoy it more. This is actually still one of my hardest wave and ship levels I've done, which is just so sad. Hopefully I can start building more skill in that area. I like a lot of Wavebreaker, but the gameplay can feel quite weird, and the ending always felt really hard to me. Also, why is it called Dancing Naked? That's such a weird song name. I didn't enjoy Hypersonic too much, but it was also one of my first extreme demons. I would say it is probably the worst Sonic level in this series, and I really wish the level was given more time to fully develop in 2.1 instead of being released before it was ready. Don't be surprised if you see a Subsonic completion in the future, because the Sonic series is a series I really want to finish. Terror Core, another unbalanced level, unfortunately has extremely hard waves. Luckily, it is another really easy extreme demon, and it looks amazing to me. I just wish the gameplay was made easier in the wave parts, or everything else was made harder to compensate. The absolute classic level that was my third extreme demon ever. Cataclysm has quite the history, but it definitely has its flaws. I enjoyed it for the most part, and I'm glad I was able to beat such an iconic level, but why did that first wave part have to be so hard? My first real attempt at beating an extreme, Awakening Horus, at least has some cool decoration. The gameplay was certainly unique for its time, but it was not very fun to play. I'm glad I did eventually finish it years after trying it, but the level definitely has its problems. Remember is so cool, but the choke points are absolutely terrible. If the choke points were just easier, this level could have easily been in my top 10, but the choke points just absolutely ruined this level for me. I am so glad that levels are still made and rated in the 1.9 style though. I'm really glad I was able to beat it for memory this year. Well, Time Pulse is another level I dropped years ago that I had significant progress on. A Super XXL 1.7 style level is quite the sight to behold, and for the most part it was pretty fun. I just wish some of the latter parts in the level were better balanced. Virtual Collapse is another super unbalanced extreme that is super easy. If you can fluke the last 25%, then you pretty much have yourself a free extreme. The decoration is nice, but there is no reason for this level to have 256,000 objects. This level is also a purple glow flow wannabe, but the super hard waves are held off until the very end. Have you noticed that the levels that I have lower usually have super hard wave parts? Maybe Possibly Thing is actually pretty fun, but I didn't enjoy the waves that much. It was also my last memory demon this year, but I missed it by one day. Still counts. The level looks nice, but some of the gameplay is just as weird as can be. I actually am a big fan of this lesser known beginner extreme demon. I would for sure recommend Helios over something like Cataclysm for a first, but it just could have been balanced and put together a little better. Some parts are also pretty weird to play. Dark Odyssey's decoration carries it so much, but I got really unlucky with it. Also, a super easy beginning and a 6-minute long level does not make for a fun time. Some parts also felt a bit weird, but the balancing could again be a bit better. We are starting to get into levels I really like. Sig Seg, or I'm just going to call it Segmentation Fault, has some really satisfying gameplay, and it is really fun to learn. The beginning is just extremely boring to play over and over again. I would still recommend this for a first extreme. It's not too hard once learned, and it is definitely really fun. Dismal Dust Storm is one of my pretty recent completions, and I would say it's a solid level. It's kind of just good across the board. It's a bit learny, but I like that in levels. The desert theme is also done really well. How was Mystic Bound's deco made in 2.1? I would say the deco is perfect, but 500,000 objects is kind of a lot. The gameplay is a bit faster paced for me, but it was pretty fun to play. Really well balanced though, and a super good first extreme to do if you can run it. The Wario Demon, Cube, is really fun, but I got pretty unlucky with the ending. It's extremely well optimized and still looks nice. It's too hard for a first extreme, but definitely one I would recommend. Hidden in the Sand is a pretty fun ship and timing level, which has a stupid mini wave choke point in the middle. Besides that, everything else in the level is great. This song is really cool too. This might be the hardest level to start learning, besides one or two I'll mention later. X-User More Like Loser is really fun once learned, but it is super hard to learn. The last 30% is also way harder than the rest, which can make it kind of annoying to play. I actually really like Heaven's Door, but the ending is super unbalanced. It kind of builds up to this climax, which I think is really cool. The deco is also really cool, but somewhat laggy. Still, this is a super accessible medium tier extreme that I would recommend to tons of people that want to get into mid-tier extremes. Decay has become more well known recently as the easiest extreme demon. While I don't think it's the easiest, it's definitely pretty easy. While I prefer Dreamer to Decay, I won't deny that Decay has some fun gameplay and pulls off the no spike gameplay way better than Want Me did. The most popular extreme demon in the game, which I did as my 5th extreme, Bloodbath, is certainly a level almost everyone wants to beat. The level that is known for its insanely hard ship parts, actually the hardest part is not even the ship parts. Depending on what you play on, or what hertz you play on, Michigan's part is either the hardest, or the various ship parts are the hardest. Even though I can't put Bloodbath any higher than this, I am so glad I was able to beat such an iconic level. Well, Brain Rot is a super weird memory extreme demon. The hardest part in the level actually comes in at the very end and has little to no memory. The fast-paced drop of the level can be really fun, but a lot of victors are not fans of the gameplay. However, I've heard it might be getting a balance update, or maybe it already has one. My most recent extreme, Reverence, is a level I surprisingly liked, besides having pretty high CPS and wave choke points. It's also the beginner glow flow level that every other glow flow extreme copies. If you are good at wave or into flow, then I would highly recommend Reverence. Even though I died twice at 97, Mazemery is stupidly consistent and really fun. This is definitely an easier memory extreme I would recommend that's feasible to do even for non-memory players. The best level of all time, Fish God Mode, is a part of the Fish series, along with Fishy, LaFishy, or LaFish, and Loden the Fishwasher. I just completely made that up. Despite the bold color choices and stupid timings, I can't help but admire Fish God Mode. It's actually quite fun once you get into it. Yet another dropped extreme that I picked up years later. Broken Signal is different from the others because I quite enjoyed it this time, even though I died at the last jump. The deco is still impressive in 2.2, and the gameplay, while unbalanced, is mostly fun. The Mistake Demon, as some would say. Oopsie is a super fun timing extreme that unfortunately has a ridiculously hard beginning. Despite the beginning, I really enjoyed Oopsie and found myself playing it all the time. I would highly recommend it to people getting into very hard tier extremes. Crowd Control, similar to Proto Flicker, has a super hard wave part at the beginning, but because Crowd Control is easier, I enjoyed it much more. I also had to deal with tons of PC crashes when playing it, but I don't want to let that influence my ranking. I would recommend this Extreme Demon, but beware the wave. The most slept on Kiwi Penguin level, Dreamer, is actually really fun, even though it gets low enjoyment ratings. It's another pretty easy Extreme Demon, but the ship part can give you a hard time. The last 30% is really easy, which is nice to have when playing hard levels. The most obscure extreme I beat before Bloodbath, besides Tantrum, Phantasmagoria, the one by Wit, is quite a fun little Extreme Demon. Because of how short it is, it can be fun to play and it almost feels like a challenge. I would recommend it as a first extreme. The ship is pretty hard in it. I would definitely recommend it over the other Phantasmagoria. The only beginner extreme that took me 10,000 attempts, Miscellaneous Memory, is a pretty fun memory extreme demon. Who would have thought? It's got a few difficult parts, including the duel, which is insanely hard to learn. Mismem is a really good extreme to do to get into memory, and it might be a nice alternative to Troll level if you want to be different. Also, more Enfer levels should be rated. Why is Prolove add extreme again? This level is a memory extreme that hasn't quite made it to the MDL yet, at least in my opinion it's memory. It's another super XXL extreme, but this time it's quite unique. Although Prolove ad is this high, I wouldn't recommend it to most people. It's more of a showcase level that I happen to enjoy playing. The level is really satisfying to watch, and the original deco ideas and atmosphere are just amazing. My second hardest, Butiti 3, was pretty fun, but unfortunately pretty unbalanced. The dual wave in the middle isn't as bad as the wave in Proto Flicker, but I feel like if it was nerfed, the level would have been one of my top favorites. The deco and gameplay is still really cool, and shorter Jonathan levels are actually pretty fun. I Never Dream is a super cool entry extreme timing level that I just love. The song is awesome, the gameplay is fun, and it looks amazing. I would highly recommend this level as a first extreme, especially for people who like timings. I really enjoyed Mind Machine. Although it's just a level that is filled with cube mazes, it was really fun to learn and play. It's also supposed to be an insane demon, but I guess it's staying as an extreme? I don't know. The Ultimate Maze Extreme Demon. Kooly Mazy Paloozy, what a mouthful, was really fun for me. I am super glad I stuck with the insane learning process, because I enjoyed the level so much that I beat it twice. I would highly recommend Kooly, even as a new hardest, because the learning levels make for great accessible hardest. I heard Painful Playland was horrible before its nerf, so I'm glad I played it after the nerf. The 1.3 gameplay style is pretty cool to me at least, and besides the ending being a little harder than the rest, I really enjoyed Painful Playland. Even though it's a bit harder than the other easy memory extremes, I would say it could work as a first one. My current hardest, Nightshade, I beat over a year ago now. It was quite the journey. It's crazy to think about. It was actually my first memory extreme demon. I thought if I'm working towards a new memory hardest, I might as well go full force in. I happen to enjoy it a lot despite struggling with a lot of parts. Not everyone is going to like Nightshade, and I don't like it as much as I used to, but I'm glad I did it as the hardest. It was a lot of fun. Well, I feel kind of bad having Act 2 this high, but oh well. I just feel like it works really well as a first extreme. It's not for everyone, but I liked it so much that I beat it 3 times. 4 if you count Wacky McWhackface V2. The deco is really good in Act 2, the gameplay is fun, and the song is one of my favorites of all time. Probably my best fluke of all time and loudest completion. Frozen was super fun to play, but I almost forget that I even started it. The deco is amazing, the gameplay is amazing, and the song is unique but really fitting. The dash shorts are tricky, and if I didn't fluke it, I would put it lower, but I really enjoyed what I played. Loop was my 3rd memory extreme I did, and I'm super glad I beat it. It's really well optimized, super fun to learn and play, and the song is just so good. I would say Loop could be a first memory extreme demon to do, but some people find it a bit harder. Either way, I would highly recommend Loop. Another big fluke, and the easiest extreme I've ever beaten, in my opinion. Misty Mountains was really quite fun, and I would say it's one of the best extremes to do as a first, even more than Acu. I think it should be an insane demon, but don't let that stop you from playing it. Truly a peak level. I really like Lost Love. It's the level that got me to start playing extremes again after Nightshade. I didn't beat any extremes for 5 months after Nightshade, and I only had 12. Now since I did Lost Love, I've done 48 since February of this year. I really love Lost Love for that reason. The deco is amazing, it's really fun to learn and play, and I fluked the last cube, which made me enjoy it even more. Lost Love would be an awesome first extreme to do. La Llorona took me the least amount of attempts for any extreme demon, and it's simply because that played the original version before the buffs. I've heard that the buffs ruin the level, and that's a shame, but I enjoyed the version I played at least. I also can't deny the level looks amazing, and it is really well balanced. Another extreme demon I think should be an insane demon. Clock Tower is super nice looking, fun, and a masterpiece that I just feel was put together perfectly. I am really glad I decided to beat it, because I enjoyed almost every second of it. Please play Clock Tower, it is a super great option for a first memory extreme. The sequel to Miscellaneous Memory, Cluttered Confusion, feels like what Miscellaneous Memory could have been. I feel like the gameplay massively improved and balanced out in Cluttered Confusion compared to Miscellaneous Memory. Although Cluttered Confusion is much harder than Miscellaneous Memory, it is more fun and looks better in my opinion. Again, more Enfer levels should be rated. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Boogie just because of what was going on when I played it. I started Boogie at the worst time in my life, but I was able to finish it a year and a half later. I love Boogie despite the emotions I have attached to it. The gameplay is the best in the whole game, and despite the decoration being just okay, and someone's name ruining the level just like every other level he touched, I'll always admire Boogie. It is my favorite hardest I've ever done. Out of Chaos is an extremely emotionally powerful experience that I wish everyone could play. The gameplay is some of the best this game has to offer, and the theme is done flawlessly without seeming inappropriate. The deco is really original and fits the level well. I've had an attachment to this level ever since I saw it get rated. I am so happy I got to beat such an awesome level. Currently this level is the 4th most enjoyed extreme demon on the extreme demon enjoyment list, and I completely understand why. I would highly recommend this level to anyone. Neurostasis is the best level I've ever beaten in Geometry Dash. I love everything about it. The deco is amazing, the gameplay is amazing, the theme is amazing, the song is amazing. I interpret the level as the brain, or maybe a computer, rapidly breaking down and trying to understand what is going on before becoming a completely null state, or neurostasis, where everything has stopped or is broken. What Kiwi Penguin had in mind might be different, but part of the experience, I think, is trying to come up with your own interpretation. There are few levels that I have this much attachment to. Neurostasis is an amazing creation, and Kiwi Penguin is a super talented creator and also extremely underrated. I couldn't be happier to have completed Neurostasis and have it as my favorite extreme demon. Thank you for watching. This is sort of a casual ranking and my thoughts could easily change. Feel free to tell me what you would rank differently. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day.